Yo.
Yo, it's Friday.
And then there were two.
And no, where is everyone? We don't even have like our other trusty sidekick. Like he sends his apologies. He's not going to turn
I was
up.
thinking
We're not
this.
talking about Martin either. We're talking about Raka.
Yeah. Now people are getting used to us just like one of us being away because last time it was me, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's dig into that. Like because January has just been a bit of a fucking whirlwind, hasn't it? This is the reason why.
Yeah, well, we did that little teaser from Cyprus, so we were together, kind of.
Yeah,
then.
definitely. But no, I think we did like nine strategies in a month. A few countries, remote, like flying. I've got a lot of jet lag. I'm in New York now, out here for a bit of business and a bit of pleasure.
You're in New York.
I'm actually with our guest as well, but not literally. But I'm with him.
Yeah, but you will be literally physically.
I will be in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Radio
John's in the house.
Back on tour.
Yeah.
Carry on. Come on, let's go.
I was going to say, John's in the house. Anyone who else is there? Drop in comments how your week's been. Give it a mark out of 10.
Yeah, John Prof is holding Confidential down, like literally.
Yeah, but he's busy. But he's busy.
100.
But then again, doesn't he do everything anyway, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Like 99.9% of our company is John Prothero. Bless him.
Yeah, so if it's your first time, let us know your name and where you're from.
And rate your week out of 10. That's what we like. Or give us a flag or something in the chat.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about yourself as well. Like if we're not connected, we can like connect with you right after as well. So drop us a little bit about
come on, let's dig in. This is a fun guest. Come on.
Firstly, I want to say most importantly, happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
I know, and I bet everyone was expecting us to do a little Valentine's show today, and it wasn't actually in my agenda, but I just didn't do it. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I wasn't hoping to see some heart prints on your t-shirt, man, but you failed us.
Stick some hearts, some like emojis on my eyes.
Yeah, but if you're not here spending time with us on Valentine's Day,
this is the perfect date.
Yeah,
like just put some music on. I know that's a good segue in, and get the red wine out.
Candlelight. Yeah. Make sure that music is licensed.
Yeah, that's right.
What I did there.
Sure, it's licensed. Come on, Ash. We're not here all day.
Anyway, listen. Let's get into it. Enough of these dad jokes because I got plenty. Today's topic is exactly about that, and it's one that's dear to all of us. It's about music, and more specifically, how music plays a role in brand communications, and that from sonic branding to like the music you hear in movies, ads, TV, and it's that part, the branding part, that we want to dig into today, and we've got the perfect guest for you today. So our guest has been in the game for over 20 years, and his company helps artists find placements in TV, film, and of course, like I said, what we're interested in today, brand advertising. He's worked with some of the biggest artists out there, and wait for this one, with a hit parade of albums with the likes of Beyonce, Lil Wayne, Ed Sheeran, Ariana Grande, Burt Bacharach.
I can see him in the back, just smugly smiling.
Yeah, Drake, Eminem, and for brands like BMW, Red Bull, Apple, Google, MasterCard, many, many more. You need to go and check out their website. He's the Vice President of Creative at the Royalty Network. It gives us an absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Dawson Higgins.
Oh, baby.
Yay.
Hello.
My brother.
Hello.
You good? I know we've talked about 15 times this morning, but we're like we haven't. How's your day, mate? You been good? You all right?
Yes,
Good
so far
morning.
so good. Doing the chores before we go on our trip. So
Yeah.
doing the laundry, went to Trader Joe's, got the bagels in for breakfast. You know,
Mate,
me.
you're looking out. Yeah, I'm good with that. I thought we were getting in the car driving, just finding stuff.
No, I thought bring the bagels for breakfast, mate. You know me.
That's cool. I'm good with it.
So, Lawson, like for those that don't really know you, like you're, they shouldn't judge you by your accent. You're actually based where? New York, is it?
Yeah, I'm based in New York. I came over here in 2001, April 2001, just before 9/11. And, you know, predominantly I came over here to work for record labels. And then I found myself back into the publishing, thankfully. And then, you know, I started the Royalty Network 21 years ago this July. And yeah, I basically built the whole creative team from scratch. And, you know, now I'm the vice president. And I'm actually also, you know, a CEO of my own publishing company called Grand Savant, which is a joint venture with the Royalty Network. So, you know, but they're both very hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah. So I did a little bit because obviously Wes knows you really well. Like
too well.
but I was doing a little bit of just like snooping on your LinkedIn. How does a guy with a degree in economics get into what you're doing right now?
Well, that's a very good question, mate. I'll tell you what the answer is. When I was studying at University West of England, UWE in Bristol, I basically got into the rave scene, the music
scene, yeah.
and I started putting on all the parties at the university, and they became the biggest parties in the whole of the Southwest, called Sutra. It was a rave called Sutra. And from that, I literally got connected with all the biggest DJs in the world, Oakenfold, Sasha, Laurent Garnier, Carl Cox, and became friends with them, and just really just felt that was my calling card. I felt like music was where I belonged. Didn't know exactly which part of it, but then a really funny story. I went to work for Tribal Gathering, you know, the big company that started the very first massive like festivals in electronic music. And I used to pick up the DJs from Heathrow Airport, and there's one DJ in particular called Laurent Garnier from Paris, who's an absolute legend in the scene. And every time I'd pick him up, he would have a conversation with me saying, "So what are you going to do with your life?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man." He goes, "You know what you need to do? You need to get into music publishing." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. Do your work, look into it." And it kind of resonated with me very much. So I got my first real job in London in '96 at MCPS PRS, which is like the performing rights organization. Yeah. And, you know, that was really the starting point of my career. And then, you know, I jumped into a couple of publishing companies in London, Westbury Music, which is a real heavy reggae influence company in Brixton. And then Sherlock Holmes in Angel, Islington. And then I got into the real electronic side. We published Underworld. I signed Felix the House Cat, Basement Jaxx Records, and just got into hybrid. So I got into the A&R and the creative side, and then I started licensing music for advertising. And I'm like, I really like that. So that was my sort of niche before I came to America. Then I came to America to work with Eric Murillo at Subliminal Records. And then I jumped to Ultra Records with Patrick Moxey. And then I went to Kinetic Records with Steve Lau. You know, and we published Sasha Digweed, Ash, the rock band, Timo Maas, South, who were on Mo Wax, James Lavelle's label. And then I started licensing music a lot because we had the coolest catalog. And that's when I got really into licensing music more than A&R. And then I realized I wanted to go back into music publishing, and I found through a friend at Nervous Records about Royalty Network, and they actually published Westbury, who I used to work for in Brixton. So I knew there was a connection there. So I literally cold called my boss, and I got an interview, and he basically said, "Well, yeah, there is a position, but I think you're overqualified." So I don't think this is the right position, but I am looking to basically create a new position where it would be administrative/creative. So, you know, if that comes around, I'll give you a call. And, you know, luckily, he did give me a call back. And that was like the starting point, even though I had to like go backwards to go forwards. You know, it's the launch pad of my career again. And I haven't really looked back since then. And that was like 21 years this July.
Right. Yeah. So Lawson, I know we've done a bit on your you know, your journey through, but I think this leads us into a nice segue into like that process, right? Because I think a lot of people, I've been around you a long time, so I kind of know it. I don't actually fully know it, so it's a bit for me as well. But so what's that process looks like when you say, like, go back to that moment where you said we had the coolest catalog, and then you started kind of using that to leverage and get in on license. Like, what does that process look like? Do you go and say these are the next hits and this is where you should be going, and it should fit your brand like X, Y, or did they come to you and say, right, this is who we are, this is our guidelines, this is how we need to talk, act, behave, this is our customer segment? How does it work? Like, explain that.
Yeah, I think how it works to start with is it's really, you need to be connected with the right people, and these people are the music supervisors, and they obviously are the ones, or creative directors. So you've got like a multitude of like creative people who go after music to sync it with audio visual products, right?
Yeah.
You know, you got trailer houses, you got film, you got TV, you got computer games, and you got TV commercials. So in all of those different spectrums, you've got somebody looking or working on behalf of the brand, for instance, and going out there doing music searches to try and find what they are looking for specifically. With TV and film, it's a little different. It's like the supervisor really has an idea of what kind of sounds they want for the TV show. So they kind of like get told by the director or the producer, we're looking for like 80s vibes or 90s or reggae, and then
like a genre almost.
A genre. It's very genre based. And then but if you've got like a really like happening new artist, most of the times the supervisors will come calling to you straight away, because they're always looking for the next thing, the next sound, the next vibe, what's going to be, you know, in advertising. Is it going to be a singer-songwriter vibe, or is it going to be a rock song that's going to come around next? They're always looking for that next sort of like culturally sound. So with me at the time when I was at Kinetic, we just had a really good, solid like catalog of music. So I got into talking to like some of the biggest supervisors directly, and then it's me basically creating a communication and a direct relationship with these people. So once you've solidified the relationship with them, you can then open your door and give them more of what you have or what you think they need. And it's just really a relationship building basis. And, you know, you send them music on a regular basis. And then once they kind of trust your judgment and your instinct, they will like start listening. And then eventually you start placing more music in all different areas in audio visual products. But it takes a long, long time to get to a place where you know everybody, they trust your music and your catalog. And obviously when they do music searches, they do know that certain companies are very strong in certain genres, so they will only give you pitches for things in that genre. Whereas if you have a company which has a multitude of genres like we do now at the Royalty Network, you get a lot more pitches because you've got a lot more types of music now. You know what I mean? So that's generally how it works. It's really a relationships business. And then
tell us it. Oh, sorry, Lawson.
Yeah, no, go.
I was going to say, tell us a little bit. Maybe you're like the proudest work that you've done, or some of your proudest work that you've done, both with artists and brands through Royalty Network.
Yeah, I could give you like a two-tier scale. One where it's really a personal thing for me in terms of like, you know, I signed this artist a long time ago, like 2010, called Keukus on Secretly Canadian, which is an independent label. You know, and I signed them for very, very little money. And I really just listened to the music, and I genuinely felt that their music was perfect for synchronization. I just instantly had a vibe and a gut feeling.
You should check them out, guys, by the way. They sound like the Beatles the
Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys in the bath. Right, imagine like everything in like
that reverb and that echoey touch.
Honestly. Yeah. Carry on your story. I'll drop this in the chat.
So anyway, I signed them, and you know, it was like literally they've never toured before, they've never done anything. They released their debut album, and then all of a sudden I was just inundated with people asking about the music and just generally like, you know, what's the story behind the band, and all of a sudden I got, you know, Bose came knocking on the door, and I'm really good friends with the supervisor for Bose. And, you know, long story short, we licensed one of their songs on the album to a worldwide Bose commercial, and it literally changed their career trajectory overnight as soon as that happened. But funnily enough, I don't know if Wade, you know this, but at one point I had 3 different songs from the same album on 3 different brands running at the same time. So I had Bose, I had Verizon telecommunications one, and I had BMW, all different Kayuka songs, all running at the same time, and that literally basically made the band what they were.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember
today.
when we were in London and you took me to see him, and yeah, they were literally like just first time on the road. Green. I think they were on like what were they on, like Radio 1? I think they had an interview in the afternoon.
Possibly. Yeah.
And like they were just starstruck. They just had no like. They were all
Yeah.
like, "What is all this new stuff?"
Yeah, exactly. And you know, to this day, I mean, I can give you like, you know, I don't mind giving numbers, but like, you know, we've licensed their catalog over $500,000 in licensing, 500,000 easily over that, just licensing from products. So that was like that was a really nice one for me, because it was something that I was really close to and saw it from the ground up. But then on a bigger scale, I think the one sync that I really like blew my mind was Run the Jewels. So Run the Jewels is a really big rap artist in the US, and I was pretty much the first like publishing creative to work with them. You know, LP hadn't had a deal with someone yet, and then he did get a deal, but for this specific thing, I worked with the music supervisor at Marvel Hive, and you know, he was a massive fan of Run the Jewels, and it literally took a year and a half from fruition, from when we gave him the music to when the Black Panther trailer came out during halftime of the NBA Finals in America.
Wow.
Yeah. And we didn't know it was going to happen until the day it happened. So I was really like, yeah. It was all very cloak and daggers and like very, very confidential. But anyway, long story short, they did it, and it was so fucking amazing. It blew my mind when I saw that on the TV, and then within 24 hours on YouTube, I think it had over 120 million impressions, like in 24 hours. So just to see the size of the beast of Marvel, and then the, you know, Black Panther, the movie, and then the song, and then Run the Jewels all together. It was like a match.
I think what was helping that at the same time, though, Lawrence, like ELP and Killer Mike were like growing their own profiles anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were growing, and I think he just had a massive like impact, all angles. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Is that generally a thing where they're looking for kind of relatively under the radar, obscure type of artists for bigger projects? Like, obviously that was Marvel, that was film, but when it comes to brand communications and brands, what are they? What kind of stuff are they looking for? Or is it just anything that fits in with their strategy?
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of look at it in two ways. There's obviously a feeling of it, so the music has to resonate like emotionally with whatever brand is looking for, but then also lyrically. You've got to have certain lyrics in the music to relate to what the storyboard is for the campaign. So, you know, again, with Run the Jewels, we had Nike, we did a Nike spot, we did an Under Armour spot. So, you know, and obviously the tempo of the music is really important with advertising, because, you know, generally speaking, when you've got visuals that are very moving forward at a faster rate, you need the music to be up tempo and it has to move with it. Whereas if you have like a pharmaceutical commercial where one of our artists, Novo Amor, we licensed it for like a Touts commercial, which is like an autoimmune system disorder. And it's all feeling and emotion and like tearjerker sounding, like almost like Bon Iver, you know, emotional, and it really like gives that feeling of what you're looking for. So I think that there's a number of things that the agencies are looking for. But since the pandemic, I think really what's been really fascinating is, you know, they're playing it a lot more safe, the advertising world, and they're really resonating now with songs that are literally very classic from the classic sound from the 60s, 70s, 80s, very recognizable from very big artists, and not really going into like the up and coming world anymore.
And how do you fit into that? Do you still represent those, because you have estates handling older artists that aren't around anymore? Like, is that how you'd fit into it, like in work with those type of
Yeah,
estates and
yeah. So
organizations?
we do have some old catalogs of music. We have the Bill Withers partial catalog. He did obviously had Aretha Franklin and some Burt Bacharach's catalog. We don't have it anymore, but we did have it.
Yeah, that was at Applebee's, wasn't it?
Appleby, yeah. So we licensed Aretha Franklin in respect to Applebee's for a very big campaign in America. And generally speaking, when you're dealing with those kind of like classic songs and artists, the fees are really like astronomically more than they are for anything else underneath. So I think that since the pandemic, it's just they're playing it a lot safer, really safe. And I really want some agencies to just be like, fuck that, let's just get some really good new shit, and let's be progressive instead of just kind of like being just really average in terms of what they're looking for.
It's kind of sad really, because like obviously I've known you for a long time. We hung out pretty much every weekend for how many years I was here, but I used to look for you as like the next thing. And I'd be always in Lawson's ear. Ash would be like, who's coming through? Where can we go tonight? And like Lawson would be the one who'd put you on to stuff. You'd be like, oh, we need to go here and see these. Or, when I went to South by Southwest, you were telling me to go and see. And, it was bonkers. He was like always ahead of the curve,
I was going to say, I guess you've still got that kind of A&R mentality, haven't you? That you're always kind of scouting a little bit. Yeah. Like that's obviously really important.
Yeah, 100%. I think that my real strong point has always been I've always listened to music that's very under the radar, but I've always have an idea of where it needs to go. So and it's always been with an half an ear with I can really see this on some kind of audio visual product. I'm very good, I think, just finding music that really fits synchronization in every area specifically. Sometimes it's more successful than others, but on the whole, it's very active in those worlds whenever I'm involved with stuff. So that's definitely something that I always have a really good ear for.
So brand associations is a big thing. Like I'm a big on brand storytelling generally, and it's all about building those associations over time. And music does that, right? It builds associations through feelings. I guess what I'm trying to now ask you is how deep do you get into that side of things when it comes to the creative houses planning and creating those campaigns? Like what process do you come in, or do they just come with a brief and say this is what we're looking for and you'll try fit in there, or do you work further down the chain?
I think the general answer to that is we normally get sent a brief, and it's a very specific thing. So they're really breaking it down to mood, vibe, tempo, female, male, instrumental, vocal, and then key lyrics that they're looking for. Sunny, sunshine, or being together. A lot of commercials are all together. We're together at the moment. That whole camaraderie kind of thing post pandemic. So it's a multitude of different things. And then what I have to do is I have to then go into my whole catalog and search for things by lyric, or tempo or time period as well, because sometimes they want something from a specific time period. So there's a lot of different variables that they're looking for, and then I just have to really dig deep into our catalog of music and come up with the most suitable suggestions, and then I will send them as a download link directly to the supervisor. And then it's but they're also reaching out to a lot of people. It's not just me, So it's really tough to crack, to get that that one shot of getting a commercial, because there's probably about 20 to 30 different people sending music every single time you get a search from somebody. So it's not easy, man. It's not. But
no, I can imagine it's not. No.
It's very competitive. But sometimes things just work, and there's been occasions where you send something and you just get an instant feedback from them and go, oh, this is really strong, this is really good. So you kind of start to feel like you're in the right place. But then obviously when you've been in the big business for such a long time, like myself, you have really strong relationships, right? So
Yeah.
they will come to me directly when they want something. For instance, we have a huge Indian catalog in the US. We have like 7 or 8 companies that my boss goes to India every single year to meet new clients. So now we're really well versed in anything. Whenever anybody wants Indian music, it's really, really, people are coming to me straight away. So, you know, the TV show, Miss Marvel, the TV show about the Pakistani girl, that came out a couple of years ago. I worked really closely with the licensing company in LA because I had so much music to give them. And over a period of a year, because post-production, it was obviously coming out of the pandemic, you know, after a year and a half, I think I sent them over 100 songs, different songs. And when it came down to the final 7 episodes, I managed to get 14 songs into the whole like series, 14 songs. And you know that's obviously like the master rights, which is the label, and the publishing rights is the publisher. We could license both sides. So if a song's licensed, you know, it costs $15,000 for the master and $15,000 for the publishing. That's $30,000 all in one sum. So I was doing that for 14 songs. So it came to a lot of money. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, really.
And you know, it was a great way of like showcasing what we have. So you know. So when specific situations like that happen, or a genre that they know that you have a very strong feel, you know, like strong sort of reach out to, they'll come to you direct and say, "Hey, give us your best stuff from, you know, time period or this or that." You know, so it really depends on the depth of your relationships with people and how well they know you as a brand in theory, right? As even though I'm a music publisher, they look at, you know, you can look at us as a brand and say, oh, this company's really good in these genres, so we're going to reach out to them for music. So it works both ways.
How big are like in terms of the work that you do, that like events as big as like the Super Bowl? Like, do you have any kind of experience working on projects like that?
Not as much, to be absolutely honest, because the Super Bowl, they kind of come with looking for songs in December, I think, or January for February. Like, so it's all kind of pre-planned, and it's generally, like I say, the songs that get placed for Super Bowl are like major artists, like the creme de la creme, and I would say that, you know, majority of the times it's with the majors rather than the small independents. But we've had a couple of Super Bowl campaigns, not anything recent, but with the Super Bowl is a very specific thing. You know, they are very specific, exactly what they want. They know what they want for it. And 9 times out of 10, like I say, it's just generally like they go for the biggest artists possible to get, because obviously the reach is the biggest in the world at that time.
Yeah, of course. So it's the big boys. I don't know what's happening when Wes is playing musical chairs here.
Gus, before we dig into the Super Bowl bit, how much do you feel like, because I've seen you grow, we've seen each other grow, how much do you think you've had to learn about brand and what it means and how it impacts, you know, to aid your job or to make your job better? How much have you learned on the way?
Oh, I've learned a lot. I've definitely learned a lot. I feel that, you know, image is important. I think just from a visual perspective, I think, you know, the image of the company and like obviously the website that you have and just generally sort of showcasing what you have to offer and the artists that you represent, obviously, is really what is like, that's the gold dust for a publisher, right? Is like, who do you represent or who have you worked with? What have you done? What successful campaigns have you been involved in? And once you can kind of see all that, like visually, it really does help, I think, you know, at least get you in the door, or, you know, at least get you a conversation with people, you know, bigger than yourself, or, you know, chasing artists that obviously everybody wants, not just me. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, again, it comes down to, you know, an advance. It's a check, and we can't compete with the majors, and so we very rarely win that battle. But that's again why we try and sign things early.
How much do you think though? Like, so when we're talking about people brands, and obviously a lot of these artists have their own brands, right? Their own people brands. how much do you think that comes into play? Because obviously, if you've got, I mean, go back to like Run the Jewels and Killer Mike. Like he's quite political. He's quite open with it. You know how he's raising his profile within his communities. How do you think that impacts, or what do you think? You know, is that important when it comes into an artist that they're going to align with? Do you think, because then it aligns with their brand perception, right? Does that ever come into play?
Yeah, I think so. I think Mike's a really good case study, because obviously he has a lot of things going on outside of music.
Yeah. Like multiple brands that he's working.
Multiple brands. You know, he builds. Yeah. He's building a lot of different things in Atlanta. He owns restaurants, everything. I mean, car shops.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think they all go hand in hand. I think I feel like as long as they're all very truth and in sync with each other, I think it's important, because at the end of the day, you want authenticity, right? You don't want something to look or feel that it's not really what it is. And I think with him, he puts his heart on his sleeve, and it really resonates, and you can just tell that's the kind of person he really is. And Run the Jewels, and obviously the Killer Mike, when he went solo, then he won 3 Grammys. He won 3, and he'd never won a Grammy before. So it's wild how he went solo, and then all of a sudden he cleaned up. Best rap album, best song, best rap song, best rap performance. And it's just crazy how it takes 25 years of his career to get to where he should have been a long time ago. But sometimes these things happen. But yeah, so I think what you're saying is very, very valid, Wes. It definitely resonates for sure.
Yeah. Phil has
we've got a question. I was going to
question in the chat. It's quite interesting. Like, do you ever get given the visual content as part of that brief to help you select, or is it always just off of a written?
Yeah. Okay. So with trailers, you definitely get the visual more. Yeah. With film and TV, no, not so much. Advertising, again, yes. It's generally at the closing stages of the deal, because at the beginning, they basically put a net out to try and find 10 to 20 songs of what could work, and then they just narrow it down to like 10 and then 5. And if you're in that 5, then generally speaking, they'll send you the visual, because it's coming down to the nitty gritty, and they're having to make a decision like the top of the company. So you do get that, but you can ask for it. You can always ask for the visuals. Especially if the client is politically motivated, or in some respects has certain brands that they don't want to work with. And that's something that we are very, very we acknowledge that we will never license or approve any song to any brand without our client's approval. That's one of the first things that we're very steadfast on, because it's really up to them at the end of the day, not us.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought of that. Do you ever get a list from your artist saying, "I'll never want to work with these"?
Yeah. Yes, sometimes. Yeah, for sure. You do, and you have to abide by it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You got to respect them. It's a very soulful, personal thing, music, and it means so much. We were speaking off air, obviously, about who is this for, and you touched on the whole that TikTok phrase. I was asking, is this just for the big guns, both from an artist point of view, and from a brand's point of view? If you're thinking from a smaller artist, how do they get recognized? How do they get into your ecosystem radar?
Yeah, no, I've got a really good example of that. So we signed he's actually he's an artist. He's mainly an electronic artist called Tudor. He's had features with Gorgon City already, and some really fairly decent sized artists in that world. And he basically created a new artist project called Boy Loco, and with another artist who's from Ireland called Flynn, who's also had on his own huge hits with Medusa, and he's actually got a song out right now with Ryan Tedder and Kygo. Kygo is huge. He's a massive electronic artist. So they became really good friends, and they just literally decided they sat in a pub in the Cotswolds. This is where it all came together, drinking Guinness, and they decided to create a new band called Boy Loco. And how they marketed it, literally from the very, very beginning, was they went on TikTok and they made snippets of everything from the very first meetings to the drinks, and then just creating content constantly, and then giving the fans what's their opinion of the songs that they want to release. So it really engaged. It cut out all the middlemen, the label,
brilliant.
everything. It kind of, even though they are signed to a label now, Warner, but they do have really creative control over what's going on. But it really engaged with the fan base, and so on the basis of like what what sort of the fans would tell them, they started to release songs accordingly. And 3 singles so far, and it's only been going for 1 year. It's from nothing, with no investment or anything really. And the last song that they released, Drink in Moderation, like 3-4 months ago, it just kind of got into a small viral moment on TikTok. But it's growing every day now across Europe and into the US, and it's got up to 7 million streams already now. And I think it's like over 140,000 streams a day on Spotify. And people are just really resonating with the song, and they're changing the lyrics to ski in moderation. So everyone in the skiing world right now is skiing down the mountain to the background of the song. And it seems to culturally have taken a bigger sort of picture.
I mean, it takes someone smart and creative to think like that, like think ahead, right? But it also gives hope to those artists out there that want to break it big. You've just got to get creative with what you've got. Like that TikTok thing is huge. Like when you get viral things and people start with songs, it's usually quite famous artists. But now I've also realized that like there's new artists that are unknown. Like my daughter, she's 16, and she'll name an artist and she'll say, "Oh, it's from that TikTok trend." Like it's just crazy.
The dancers, all of it, right? They all impact it. Like it's interesting though, Lars. Before you move into that, like we have an exercise we do with our clients, which is, and I learned this through Level C in Martin Numia, where we're talking about assumption reversal, where we take like obvious things that happen in our customer's journey, and we basically flip it, and we see how achievable that would be. And I think these guys have done a similar thing where they've kind of took all the assumptions of everything that needs to happen. We have to go through a label, we have to get signed, we have to then get play, and they've flipped it all back and just said, right, well, we don't have to go through a label, we don't have to we can just go viral, use technology around us to help us, and obviously align to an audience which is then clearly elevated them in a positive way, and no one can really take that away from them, right? Like you said, I think in the opening line is they're still very creative and they still run it even though they're signed by Warner, because that is what made them, right? And Warner can't take that away from them,
Yeah, you can't take that away. And generally, like the music industry is really like it's proactive, it's not reactive anymore. The labels are waiting for people to create something, to make some kind of like swell or a buzz. They don't ever sign anything without that anymore. It's artist development is kind of gone to some degree. You've got to put all the work in. So like I say, they've been really clever, really savvy, and I honestly think it's a real beginning of their career, because they're both incredible songwriters and artists individually and collectively, and they've been around for a while, and they know how to play the game, and they're starting to play the game now in terms of social networking. And they haven't even performed live. They've not done one live show yet. It's all viral. It's all on the internet. But it's gonna. I think it's gonna, become a big artist, man. I really feel it, because it's just real. It's a real feeling, and people connect with it because they're just genuinely down to earth guys, man.
Has the AI trend seeped and started threatening any parts of your business?
I was going to ask that when you were talking about your selection stuff. I was like, is AI now coming in to help you with that? If he's looking for keywords, key trends.
Yeah, well, I was even thinking. I didn't think about that actually. Whereas I was thinking more actually AI generated music, like
just removing the artist completely and making AI.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there has been ripples in it when there was a lot of fake AI, Drake and The Weeknd, and I think legally the law's not in place yet, so you can't have that right now. There's like it's infringement of copyright basically to have someone just upload a song that's an AI version of any other artist, because it's not their intellectual property. So that's one thing. But one particular area I've noticed. So I use a program called Disco for when I'm sending music to supervisors, and they've got an AI obviously facility where they can actually create instrumentals for you from songs that don't have instrumentals. So that's kind of interesting because you know, sometimes when supervisors or creatives are like, oh, we really like this, but do you have an instrumental, because the lyrics are just not working for us. So you know, if it's an old song, there aren't instrumentals, because generally speaking, they didn't make them in the 70s and the 60s. So that's something that I'm kind of interested about right now. But in the other areas of the music, I think in the creative side of it, I think there's a long way to go with AI. I think because you still need a human to do certain things, man. I really do. But I think in administration and like accounting and all of that side of the, I think AI can be a massive help in the music business.
Yeah.
But that intuition as well, like, and that's, I love to hear that, because it's all about feeling and emotion, and that's one thing that where as humans are good at. Like we you know, like AI can't yet battle us on that, and so you've got to have that human element in there.
I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. I just think in general, I think people are still a little scared of AI in music. I think they're definitely scared, and I think we have to be
more from a legal point of view, you mean?
Yeah, legal and creative. I think just in general, you know, I think the music industry is one of the biggest industries that always takes the longest to come up with technology, right? I mean, it always has been, you know, from the CD, from the, you know, to streaming, the subscription model. I mean, look how long it took to get to this place, and now now the industry's booming again. The majors are making billions of dollars on the back of it, and so AI is the next one, right? And so I think it's just everyone's scared, and I think it's going to take a while to let people get sort of like feel comfortable using it. You know, especially from a creative perspective, I think that's going to take the longest. But I think from administrative, as I said, I think that's going to be really a huge help.
Yeah, the rise of bots, man, it's coming. Take all our jobs.
I'm just looking at some of the questions. There's one from Akon. Let's read it together. Let's read it together. Yeah. Do you think there will ever be someone doing the music, brand concept, creativity mix as well as the KLF ever again?
Oh wow,
so we got a KLF reference. That's like throwback.
I mean, they were like they were the renegades, weren't they?
yeah. They started the trend, didn't they?
Yeah. It's a good question. I don't think so, man. I think it's.
Is there anyone that you've seen like relevant to that?
Like right now in the market that's similar has a similar ilk? Not really. I really don't think there is. I don't think there is. I mean, I think even really big artists are now more open to licensing their music, because like Prince, people like Prince weren't doing it, and they are now. So like, you know, estates of like classic catalogs, they're all realizing that there's money to be made in licensing, whereas before, I think they were just like, nah, we're not into this. But you know, if it's another avenue of income stream, why not? As long as it's tasteful, right? Obviously, it's got to be tasteful. So I think that the tier one artists that generally weren't licensing music previously are now open to doing that.
Let's move into a bit of Lawson. I think we're getting to that time in the show where we're going to dig in a bit on Mr. Higgins. So come on, Lawson, tell us a bit of Lawson outside of listening to music. What does he do? What does he love doing?
What do I love doing? Okay, running.
He loves running. He's tried to get me running for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah,
not happened.
Not happened. I'm gonna get Wes running up the mountains in Hunter.
Take some videos for us then.
Yeah, no, I think generally speaking, you know, since the pandemic, I think just trying to be healthy and you know, mentally, most important of anything is just my mental state. And I think running changed that, just literally changed the game. You know, it doesn't cost anything. Gyms were shut down, and I just really got into it. And you know, and for me as an A&R, I create my playlists when I run, so I listen to music, and I really find it a really good way of like, if something resonates really strongly, I'll just like it, or I'll just go back to it. So it's a really good like sort of base for me creatively and health wise. So, you know, running definitely. Obviously, Chelsea. I'm a massive Chelsea fan. We won't talk about them right now because we're shit. So I'm not really feeling them too much. But I'm a big football fan, obviously, and a sports guy in general. I love sports. My son plays basketball and volleyball, so I support him every day, every time he plays. So sports, running, you know, good wine, obviously, when I'm drinking. I haven't drunk for 6 weeks, but I think I'll be possibly drinking something over the weekend with Wes.
No doubt.
I'll tell you what, a brand that you like if you see someone there in communications at ASICS with the whole mental health and the fitness stuff. Have you seen any of their stuff?
What? No, what's that?
ASICS, you know, ASICS trainers, they do obviously all sorts of gums, but yeah, they're really pushing the narrative about the whole mental health as well as the fitness,
wow,
physical health. Yeah, some really good stuff coming out from them actually.
That's great. I mean, listen, I think that's a great avenue to go down because again, people are definitely looking at their health more. I mean, you know, I think, you know, obviously in the USA, certain markets more than others, but I just think there's a general like upscale in people keeping a general like really close account of how they feel like emotionally, you know, mentally and health wise. And I think it's really good. I think it's really important, man. I mean, the non-alcoholic drinks is starting to blow up over here.
Yeah, it's booming here.
It's
I was
booming.
a big shock coming back this time. Yeah.
So it's definitely, you know, I think just health in general is a big market for brands.
Yeah, totally.
And go on. I want to know what Law sings in the shower, or at least I want.
Oh yeah, go on then.
What do you sing in the shower, Law?
Mate, I can't even remember last time I sang in the shower. I'm not a singer in the shower. I'm not.
No one is. When Wes ever asked this question, everyone says
I really
the same
don't
thing.
sing in the shower.
I sing in the shower all the time.
No,
I think personally though. All right, if you can't answer that, but personally,
no. What about in the car then?
Oh, in the car?
He has road rage, mate.
Yeah.
There's no singing, there's shouting.
I do listen to a lot of rap music in the car.
Yes.
So I definitely sing along to Kendrick.
Yeah. Well, we can touch on that. What's your thoughts on the weekend activity?
What do you mean? This weekend?
The Super Bowl and Kendrick. How do you think that played out?
I personally think it was a fantastic show. I mean, there's definitely a huge, massive divide saying it's really good and it's really bad.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, are you in the Kendrick camp or not? And I think really it's a matter of those two things. Personally, I thought it was fantastic. I think there was a lot of subtle, deep, like things that he did that people went over everyone's head. And I think culturally and some of the, just having Samuel L. Jackson, everyone thought that was a fucking joke. I thought it was genius, mate. Genius. It's the black Uncle Sam. And I think it was absolutely amazing. Like, so I just think that, again, you know, there's two sides to the coin. You know, obviously your Drake or your Kendrick. I mean, and it is what it is. But from an artistic perspective, I thought he killed it.
I was going to say, like, Kendrick's always been an artist through and through, right? He's never been in a category. He's been an artist, like, whether it's spoken word or rapping or performing theatrically. It's like that's him, right? So, like you say, it's either you love him or hate him, kind of with anything like that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. For him as an artist.
No. But I'm definitely a Kendrick. I'm definitely in the Kendrick camp.
yeah, definitely. So we touched on as well just before at the start is like this other company of yours. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Sure. So just literally as the pandemic hit, I decided with my partner Vlad, who's based in LA, who's actually an attorney, an entertainment attorney. We decided to start our own publishing company called Grand Savant, which Wes very kindly helped brand the company from scratch. You know, we just have right now Instagram, so it's still I'm definitely going to get a website this year because things are starting to move a little faster now. But anyway, long story short, we felt that there was a market for boutique publishers where, you know, we could take really under the radar artists or songwriters or producers and really elevate them to wherever they, you know, individually, collectively would like to go through you know, obviously through our creative process, our network, which is the most important thing, because, you know, having a joint venture with my royalty network is literally having a huge company, like it's like the big brother and I'm the little brother, and you have access to everything worldwide, every sub publisher that we go through. And so it's literally, you know, giving you a massive network of connections. So, you know, that in process. And then obviously, you know, Vlad's connections and my connections, he's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. It just made sense. So we started it up, you know, slowly but surely. We've got like 5 artists now, and, you know, things are moving in really good right now. It's, you know, we've got some really solid artists. Bay Ledges. For some reason, 3 of our clients are all on Network Records, which is like a very cool independent label network. So Joe Lay, who's based in the UK, he's a really cool singer-songwriter, electronic folk artist. Then Bay Ledges is based in the US in West Coast. He's a really cool indie electronic artist, similar to like Tame Impala or Toy, you know, like that kind of vibe. And we just signed a guy called Tim Atlas, who honestly has the most amazing voice. And it's like, not, you know, he definitely has like the indie Bruno Mars vibes, like, even though he doesn't personally like to be attached to that, but just, he has a great sound. And, you know, I've just signed a rock band from Wales, actually, called Teething. And honestly, this band is amazing. It's like a mixture of The Prodigy and Idols.
Right.
And they are literally,
crazy.
they've just released the first single called My Generation. So check it out on all streaming platforms. My Generation, Teethin, Teethin. And their live show is absolutely insane. So I'm really excited about that, because that is literally, I've been working with them since they rebranded from another name called Minas. They've just rebranded, so they have no socials. And, you know, with the distribution company in-house at Royalty Network, they got them on New in Punk on Spotify playlist, and New in Punk and New in Alternative Music on Apple Music in 90 different countries on the first single. And it's like, so it started on a really, really positive footing. So that's something that I'm very interested in. So yeah, and Teething, that's my claim to the next fame.
And the last thing that kind of leads into this, but what's on your playlist at the minute? I mean, I'm probably going to find out later, but like, any suggestions to people out there, apart from the bands you just mentioned, like, who's on the next wave through, do you think?
I mean, honestly, it's I kind of I do like listening to a lot of hip hop. So even though
we're in the same camp, right?
Even though I sign things that are not necessarily in that genre, I do listen to a lot of hip hop. So like Gunna, you know, Don Toliver, Kendrick, that kind of vibe. Just anything in that realm. I love SZA, obviously, she's amazing. You know, and then generally I will go back to like some of my old, I go back to Coldplay, man. Just like occasionally just drop the Coldplay album on, you know, Parachutes. I love it. So I'm kind of like all over the place sonically, but generally something that's going to put me in a good mood.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, man. Ash, anything else before we have to wrap?
Well, yeah, we're to the hour. Like, people following you, LinkedIn is the best place.
Yeah, for me, or Instagram. You know, just Lawson Higgins, basically. So it's an unusual name. You'll find me on Instagram, but LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, but mainly Instagram and LinkedIn, really. And then Grand Savant is on Instagram. That's the only place we are right now. So you can follow the publishing company and see how things are moving on in the next 12 months.
I'll drop some links in the comments, but I think you guys need to check out Cayucas, as they're a happy band. They always put me in a good mood. Like, obviously I've got memories attached to that as well now, but let's do it.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Lawson. Sadly, you've got a bit more time with Wes physically, but it was great to meet you.
Yeah, mate, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on as well, man. And you know, you need to hit me up for anything in the future. Be my guest.
Thanks a lot, man.
I'm just lucky you didn't ask him any awkward stories about me, Ash. That's why I survived.
I know, but I think I kind of would know the answers to that, so it maybe another time off air.
We got many stories, me and this kid.
Yeah, maybe not for daytime viewing.
yeah. Not safe for work.
Not safe for
All
West.
right, man. Take care. Have a great weekend.
All right. Cheers, mate. All the best.
See you later.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. wow,
Oh
what a
man,
G.
what a lovely guy, man.
It's amazing to be around him. Like he drops comments into your general conversation, and you're just like, what did you just say? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
around that stuff
I mean,
all the time.
the guy's been in the game over 20 years, man. Like he's
Yeah.
must have some stories.
Yeah, from Bristol to Brooklyn. I think. Well, he's in Long Island City now, but mad.
Yeah. So what's the rest of the plan for
Great
you then?
combo.
Are you off the
Well,
meeting him?
we're just gonna go get the car now, and then we're gonna head up to Hunter Mountain. We're up there for 4 days. 25, 30 people for my friend's 50th. Got tubing in there. My first task tonight is to make the fire, apparently. So, wish us all luck.
Yeah, wish everyone luck, like the whole town, man. Right. Well, have fun, mate. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll catch you. Actually, it's next week, isn't it? We're on
It's
again.
next week, yeah. So
Yeah.
we normally do every 2 weeks. I moved this because obviously I was here. I was hoping to do a bigger panel thing, but it didn't work out. So my bad on that. But yeah, next week we've got a don, a proper don. Yeah, a book writing don, shall we say? Next week.
Yeah. We always have
Big
dons.
time. Yeah, this guy was a G though. I'm so glad he came on.
Yeah,
He was a little bit
it was
nervous.
a great conversation today. I loved it.
Yeah.
Right, guys.
Still in the background. Look, I can see him. Right. See you later.
See you later. Bye.
Peace.